Hello and happy spring break to you once again from Port Aransas. This is part 2 of the Green Eggs and Flam video series, and we're going to be talking about the rudiments today. There are lots of rudiments in this first part up to letter C, but I want to kind of focus on like 5 of them. These 5 rudiments really are things that you don't see every day. And you don't see them in sight reading, for example. You don't see them in a lot of the concert music, and we haven't done region band this year, so you wouldn't have seen them there either. So these are rudiments that are building blocks of snare drum music, and they're a good idea to take out and practice on their own. Rudiments all have a certain feel to them, and that feel needs to sound naturally when those rudiments occur in music. So the idea is that we practice the rudiments out of context so that when they occur in music, they sound very natural. So the first one that I want to look at is kind of a review from the last video, the flam. We need to be comfortable playing flams on both the right and left hand. A lot of times when we first start playing flams, we tend to put every flam we see on the right hand. And in this piece, obviously, there are flams on both hands, and indeed, once you get to high school, you need to be able to do both also. So this is going to be good practice for that. So a good idea to work on these is to just practice alternating flams first of all. So I may set the metronome on the same tempo as the piece, and just do quarter notes. I'm going to do a right hand flam followed by a left handed flam. Right, left, right, left, right, left. Practicing alternating flams is great, and then flam taps are another thing that you can do where you add a tap after each flam. So 2 notes on the right, 2 notes on the left with a flam on the first one. Flam, tap, 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 flam, tap. So that's a good way to practice those flams and get used to how they feel on the right hand and also how they feel on the left hand. It needs to be equally comfortable. And if you're right-handed and you tend to put flams on the right hand all the time, then it may be necessary to practice the left hand more. A 5-stroke roll is the next one that I want to talk about. We see these in a couple of places. Beat 2 of measure 5. Beat 2 of measure 6, the end of 1 in measure 7, the end of 1 in measure 11, the end of 2 in measure 11, the end of 2 in the measure before B. I think that's it. So quite a few 5-stroke rolls in the first part of this. So it's 2 double strokes followed by a single stroke, which makes 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like flams, 5-stroke rolls can start either on the right hand or the left hand. And in this piece, you have a little bit of both. So 5-stroke rolls are something that you can practice in sequence. You can practice them alternating or you can practice them on one hand. So just a good idea in general to practice them at the same speed as the piece. I've got my metronome on 86 here. But in terms of the feel, you don't want to practice it at like 30 and then have to play it at 85 or 86 and not know what it feels like at that tempo. So it's a good idea just to take the tempo of the piece. When you practice these rudiments, practice them in the tempo of the piece that you're playing, and that'll really help. So I've got my metronome on 86 here. I'm just going to start them on one hand. I'm gonna just do a bunch of right hand 5-stroke rolls. Notice I'm not singling them. They are rolls. I'm not going. Okay, that's incorrect. These are 5-stroke rolls. Double, double, single. Once I get comfortable doing them on the right hand, maybe I'll practice the left hand. Again, if you are right-handed and you tend to put things on the right hand, it may be necessary to practice the left more. Oh, that was a 9-stroke roll. Sorry. So I've got some left-handed 5-stroke rolls as well. So I gave you a little foreshadowing there. The 9-stroke roll is next. We have one of these on the right hand. It is on beat 2 of measure 15. and it has a crescendo on it. So 9-stroke roll, same idea as the 5-stroke roll, except it's longer. There's 4 double strokes followed by a single stroke. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's where it gets its name from. So it's a full beat of 16th notes with double strokes on them, followed by a release note. That's a single. So 9-stroke rolls I'll practice in a very similar way. Even though there's only one on the right hand here, I would still practice them on both hands. But this is the idea. I might try it without the double strokes first, just to get the hand speed down on the 16 notes, and then add the double strokes in after a while. So I might start it with something like this: 1 E and a 2, 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 and then add the double strokes in. And then do it on the left hand. And practice those until they get comfortable. So that's got a crescendo on it, so it may be worth your time to practice doing those with a crescendo as well. The Flam paradiddle, we've got one of these in this section. I think it's in measure 14. Yeah, Flam paradiddle. We do have some later on in the piece though. So this is a paradiddle, but it just happens to have a flam on it. So it's a regular paradiddle like the one that you see in measure 5 and 6, with a grace note added to the beginning of it. So this is a good thing to practice one-on-one, but there's a cool way to practice them alternating that I'll show you in a little while, which actually comes up later in the piece too, before D. But this is probably how I would start practicing the Flam paradiddles. So just starting on the right hand perhaps, and then release it on the left hand. Play the next note also. So I'm playing paradiddle tap. I'm actually turning it into a paradiddle tap for that purpose. Okay, and then you could do the same thing on the left. Paradiddle tap starting on the left hand. Then, once you get comfortable with that, it would be a good idea to practice them alternating. So this is the cool idea that I showed you, that I told you about a while ago. So here it is. So I'm going to play Flam paradiddles, but alternating. They actually naturally alternate, but it takes a little bit of time to get used to sticking that grace note in there and making it sound good. The last one that I want to talk about as far as rudiments are concerned is the cheese. Now, you could say this is a cheese, or you could say it's a flam tap. Either way, it's basically the same idea. So a cheese is basically a fast flam tap. So it's like a flam with a double stroke on it. And this comes up at the end of measure 12 and then all during measure 13. So just so that you get a sense of what it sounds like, I want to play that section for you again. So I'm going to do 12 and 13. So here's 12 and 13. 1, 2, ready, go. So what I'm doing there is playing double strokes essentially on the left hand, but I've got a grace note prior to that double stroke in the right hand. So this is a rudiment that you can practice basically in the context of the piece. You don't really have to take it out of context much. You know, practicing it with 2 lefts and a right, or you could reverse it and do 2 rights and a left. And then if you get comfortable with that, just like with the Flam paradiddles, you could actually alternate these. And alternate them. But that's, at faster tempos, it's called a cheese. At slower tempos, I guess you would call it a flam tap. But nevertheless, whatever you want to call it, that is something good to practice. So that's about all the rudiments that I want to talk about. And this is an essential part of the practice, so please don't forsake this. After you do your little 5-minute warm-up or whatever you're going to do, practice the rudiments and isolate them so that they come naturally to you when they occur in the piece. Okay, and that's about it for this video. I'll see you in part 3.